Hi, everybody, and welcome to my Prezi presentation today on global issues in the Western Hemisphere. And it's a fifth grade inquiry new content presentation. So, how have global issues impacted your life? You could take a minute to think about that. What are global issues? Global issues are anything around the world that can affect a community, environment, and its population. When we think of global issues, they also include political issues, economic crises, and social issues, which we'll dive into deeper in a few minutes. But let's just think, what kinds of global issues have you experienced inside your region? So, in the United States, what kinds of global issues have you faced? Could it be environmental? Could it be like COVID-19? That's a big one. COVID-19 changed the world in a completely upside down way. Um, and it just changed it socially, politically, and economically. And many people cannot do the things that they once were doing. And it's just a very reverse time for around the world. So take a minute and think of what are the things you have experienced with global issues. If you look at this picture, it should give you some graphical ideas of things that you could think of from all over the world. So, did you know that the most factors in for global issues are inflation, poverty, social inequality, crime and violence, and unemployment? Okay, so when we go into talking about the Western Hemisphere, let's just recall what regions make up the Western Hemisphere. We have North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. Now, these you can definitely we can look into and find that inflation, poverty, crime and violence, and climate change and unemployment, all of these we can find within our regions of the Western Hemisphere. So today we're going to be looking at the countries in the Western Hemisphere, how they face a lot of concerns and issues inside their region, and we will investigate a lot of current issues that some of these regions are facing. So let's just begin with pestle. We won't necessarily watch this 3-minute video, but pestle is just it's an analysis that you will be going to study. It's political. For the sake of this, it's going to be a political, economic, um, social, and environmental analysis. We're just going to eliminate legal and technical just for now because global issues, technically, there's more to deal with those disciplines. So when we watch this 3-minute video, it is just a way to tell us how we can look out for these political, environmental, social, and economic issues. And then we can fill it in a chart. So that being said, we can zoom through this. And did you also know that the Western Hemisphere has a prime meridian, which means it divides itself from on the west side from the east side? It does have a little bit of Africa and New England in it, but it is the prime meridian distinguishes itself to make North America and South America have its own system in which it does things, new patterns and trends and trading and all that. So it's just a longitude line that divides the West and East hemisphere. So, what are some global issues impacting the Western Hemisphere? So, we'll take out the pestle chart that was handed out to begin our analysis. Let's look at population growth. That's a big one within our South American region. When we look at the population, we can conclude that it has greatly decreased. And the reason for this is that it has dealt with a lot of migration. People are leaving the country. Now, if we look at this illustration of South America, we can see that people are the world has changed because of maybe wars like the Ukrainian Russia war and COVID. It has just wiped people out. People want to move. They need a better life. Unemployment rates went down. The equal rights for education also were being discriminated and went down. There's a lot of poverty and just a lot of unequal rights in this region that we will take a look at. So let's just take a look here. So when we look at these regions, we can just say that there's political disruption, meaning the government is not cooperating and it's just making unfair laws and regulations, and people are disputing against them, and there's a lot of protests, armed conflict. A lot of people are now paying more money in taxes, even in the USA, for military weapons. Um, and leading them into an economic crisis, and people are struggling with money. Central American countries face natural disasters probably because they're closer to the border, not the border, sorry, the sea levels, the oceans. So, there's a lot of natural disasters and risk of extreme weather that can basically deteriorize infrastructure. And then, people are left homeless, people are left with no money, and people are left basically in broken economies and just very poor. They cannot rebuild, they cannot pay for certain things, they can't afford food. So weather very much affects, the way people grow things, the way people live in houses, the way animals eat, habitats, and all that great extra stuff. So when we look at the conservation of resources, this is important to note because conservation is preventing our natural resources from disappearing. So when we look at this chart here, we can point that everybody is focusing on the USA. The USA is one of the most dependable countries in the whole entire world. It stands for freedom. It has had at one point a balanced economy, of dependable on resources and just a better way of life at living. The population growth in the US has greatly declined. You can see here it declined because of COVID. People were not allowed to travel and migrate. But now that, things are now settled, it went all the way back up, and there is an overcrowd in population. So now this is where the economic crisis comes in. So people are not given equal rights because of competition. More people that are citizens are not able to do certain things in the USA because we need room for the people that have moved here. Giving them, a chance at equal rights. Rises in taxes. We have to pay more money now to live in a more overcrowded population. For this reason, people protest and they move. You'll see a lot of movements now in the USA breaking out and leading into new ideas and new movements for um, equality in different areas. Resources and conservation. If people deal with water in one area, it might affect the way people deal with water in another area. We have to make sure that we don't pollute it and contaminate it for other people to live all over the world. So like I said before, that there's an increased contact with other cultures and increased rates of immigration that have raised fear in the loss of traditional and national culture. So people lose their culture because many people, come in and we mix different cultures, but then they lose their original culture. So there's a lot of arguments with that. So when we dive deeper into globalization, the next issue, which we can say that it's an increased economic, social, and political interconnections throughout the world. And basically, a lot of people have seen that the Western Hemisphere was a threat. So most people in the Eastern Hemisphere, just because of the different ways they do things, they have seen that globalization becomes a threat. So now there's a lot of, all in all, as a summary, we can say that the North American and South American western side of the hemisphere deals with a lot of border disputes, immigration, drug trafficking, fear of terrorism, and histories of isolation. Um, and that's the relationship between each region. And then people give each other a hand, and they're known to cooperate, um, with infrastructure and money, and just to have better interactions with each other. But now, as times are getting tough with the wars and COVID and everything, people are remaining inconsistent, which disrupts the whole balance of the Western Hemisphere. So people don't want to cooperate in the same way. um, so this is just, going to be a problem for in the future, with trading and, just interacting and blocking off, borders. So we can see a lot of disruption coming. So now, with that being said, from what listening to the lecture, we can fill out the political factors, the economic factors, the tech, not the technological factors, but the social factors. So technological will replace with economical. So for the political factors, we can think of different movements and beliefs that people have been arguing over. Economic factors, we could think of instability in terms of money and trading. And then social factors is that people have been, on a disagreement level, causing, different wars and disputes inside their community and crimes. Um, and for the environmental factors, just, climate change and geographical locations have been immensely declining because of different weather changes, which can, if the weather changes, it affects both animals and people. So it's time to express ourselves when we break up into three groups and choose a region in the Western Hemisphere. It could be the Caribbean, North America, South America. It could be also Central America. We can all just discuss our concerns on global issues and inform different people in our classrooms. We can inform them what they find in their pestle analysis. So it's up to the students to decide how you guys want to present your findings. So you can present when you can come up with different ways to present what's happening, like environmental issues. You can express your concerns and opinions, or you can simply elaborate on favorable issues. So take few minutes to do that, or you can pause this video just to think and reflect. So when we do reflect, after finding and sharing our concerns and stuff, we're going to reflect again on how global issues have impacted the Western Hemisphere. So your reflection will be finding examples on new global issues that are affecting complex societies today. So, what new things other than what we learned today can you think of? Or you can correlate them together and construct a reaction paper that explains how global issues have negatively impacted North and South America using, observations from real life, or, relevant evidence from the pestle chart that we just developed. So as a result, at this point, everybody should be aware of all the global issues happening somewhat in the world, but more in the Western Hemisphere. Um, so we can write a letter, and we can leave here at this presentation writing letters of awareness to younger students in order to help them understand what's going on in the world today. So thank you so much for your time. and I hope this presentation was influential.